Hello, my name is Robbie. On here, I'm Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God but does not attend a church has a story why. But it's said that whenever two or more gather in God's name, that He is there. So this is church. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tonight we continue the Restoration series, and the long-awaited day for me has come. It's time to put in the sound system. Time to put these speakers in these cars. When I was growing up, my stereo defined who I was. These speakers, the sound system, all the equipment I put in my vehicles, that allowed me to express the person I was, who I was. That gave people their first impression of me. Because you didn't see my vehicles coming. You heard them coming. I was always about having the loud system that you heard me coming down the block. And I still remember the first time I bought a stereo. I was working out at church camp, and I'd come home maybe once a month. And my mom, she heard I put this huge stereo, and she says, you know, last thing, I do not want to hear you coming blasting that stereo down the neighborhood. I don't want the neighbors complaining. I do not want to hear that thing coming down the driveway. So the first time I come home, I got the windows down and the system up, and my mom is standing on the front deck. Oh, my baby's home. She was ready for me because she heard me coming. And I always thought that was so funny because she was against the big she just didn't like that. But she knew I was coming because those speakers told her, hey, here I am. And I always thought it was interesting. I don't know about you guys, but first impressions greatly matter to me. And so the first time someone ever got in my vehicle, who else got some serious anxiety and freaked out a little bit of, what's the first song I'm going to play? What's the song that I'm going to play to tell them who I am and what I'm about and set the atmosphere for our whole conversation? That used to get to me. I used to literally have a CD that just had 10 different songs on it, and they were my intro songs. You know, nowadays on Twitch, we still do this. We still have our intro songs. We have our songs that give people our first impression, our sound alerts that we play when people show up, that we can play when someone hops in our chat. We've got our little...
It's Templar Night!
We've got all these songs that we can play to tell people who we are. And every single song defines us.
Ladies and gentlemen, London Gray.
Every single song gives you a little bit of information
Assassin.
on who just showed up and what they're about, what they're like. So we still do this. We still like our entry music. We're like wrestlers when we walk into a room. We want our songs playing. We want that extra sense. We want audio to tell people who we are and what we're about. I love these sound alerts. That's one of my favorite things about being on stream, is having sounds to play for people and having people play my sound to say, hey, I'm here. And it sets the mood for who I am. And I still have that whenever someone hops in the car with me, or the work van. If I'm driving somewhere and I hook up my phone, what music am I going to play for this coworker to tell them what I'm about? It matters. And so we put speakers in our faith, so that when people get around us, they can get that first impression of what we're about. Now, I don't know what type of stereo you guys are putting in, but my system's pretty loud. You hear my faith coming from a ways away. Now, normally, I like to feel out the crowd a little bit. You know, I like to get to know who's around, especially on the internet, because they say don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion. So I kind of got to test the waters. But once I've seen that flag of that piece, that, hey, we have this in common, it's okay to talk about this here, I crank the system up. Just this week, I did an install at a customer's house, and they had this painting that was amazing. It was a picture of heaven opening up its gates, and it was such a phenomenal picture. I have no idea if this is going to show up, but I'm going to try something here. They had this painting, and I took a picture of it and asked if it was okay because I thought it was amazing. And once we found that we had that common ground, that we both had faith, the conversation was phenomenal. Because I could talk to them about what I believed, and they could talk to me about what they believed, and we shared and we worshiped together and we spent time with God. Now, mind you, they were just expecting some grungy construction worker to come and put a furnace in their house. And I showed up. And they didn't know until I saw the sign and said, hey, I'm going to cast out a line here and see if they take the hook and if this is an okay thing to talk about. And as soon as they made it clear, yeah, we can talk about this, man, we turned those stereos up and our faith was loud and proud. It was a good day. And I was sitting there thinking, if we're putting speakers in our faith, what is my song? What is that first song my faith is going to play to tell people what my faith is about? And I was kind of amused because, I'd love to hear this from all of you. I want to hear what song would tell me the most about you. If I wanted to learn who you are, what song would you have me listen to? Because for me, it's Lord Give Me a Sign by DMX. Now, if anyone hasn't heard that song, like, DMX, he was a bad guy. He had a lot of really rough music he wrote, and he did. But he also had a lot of really great stuff that he wrote. And I felt like I connect with DMX the most because in all of his songs where he's preaching, he's not hiding his struggles. Yeah, okay, I can feel that. He knows that God is all powerful and God is in control of it all. And he takes responsibility that it's his screw-ups. There is one part in the song that I love where he says, "The devil is trying to find me, hide me." Hold up, I take that back. Protect me and give me the strength to fight back. And that is a kind of power that you don't get out of most Christian hip-hop. When he's first coming to God saying, hide me, keep me safe, keep this bad stuff away from me. And then he flips and says, no, wait, better yet, keep me safe and let me go on the offensive. So what does DMX do? He puts a song on every album, praying, witnessing to people, talking about his faith. And it was truly amazing the impact he had. And that's my song. If you're curious, if you want to listen to the song that describes me best, look up DMX, Lord Give Me a Sign. It even suits this series. The whole time we've been talking about looking for God's signs in our lives, telling us where to go, so it's even more fitting. In your lives, what do people hear coming out of your speakers? When people get close to your car, do they even hear the system inside? Maybe you got a good clean system, but it's It's only for inside the vehicle. It's for the people who get close, the people you invite in. They get to hear. And not everyone needs some sort of stereo to shake the whole neighborhood. It's, in all honesty, sometimes it can be a little intimidating for people to approach. Maybe all you need is that nice, clean 7.1 surround inside with the Bose speakers, and it sounds so crisp and clean inside. But what are you playing? What song are you hitting people with? What does your faith's sound like? Do you even turn on the radio for people? Do you let them hear? Because having these speakers, the ability to present God's message to people, it's one of the things we as Christians are called to do. It says so in the Bible. Romans 10 verse 14. This was Moses wrote this letter to the Romans, but it says, "How then can they call on the one that they have not believed in? And how can they believe in someone who they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them?" So basically what that is that's Moses telling people, if we'd flip that backwards, if we do not tell people about God, how are they going to find Him? If we do not let people know what God can do, how will they trust Him? And if they do not trust God, how can they ask Him to change their life? It all starts with that one step. Someone has to preach, has to witness, has to share their faith in God to someone so that they know, oh, hey, I heard about that God once. I heard that God can do great things. Maybe I should ask Him if He'll do something great for me. But if they don't hear that God can do great things, how are they going to know to ask? If they don't know what God can do, how are they going to trust that He can do it? That's on us. That's our responsibility. That's what He puts on us to do. We are to go and tell people about what God can do. To share stories. To share examples. To bear witness of His love. To be like, hey, I heard you're struggling with this, and I struggled with something like this once, and I talked to God, and this is what God did for me. That's what we're called to do. Now, I know for some of you, you may not be comfortable with that. A lot of people are not comfortable with that. I will admit that sometimes on my lessons, I will put a little more on people than I should. Because some people aren't here to become preachers and witnesses and leading outreach. Some people are just here hoping to put their lives together. Falling back on what I said earlier. Preaching, sharing God's love, bearing witness, talking to others, that's helped put my life back together. That's what this whole series has been about. Restoring our faith. Restoring my faith. Taking something and making it better. Increasing our relationship with the Lord. That's why we're here every Sunday. And I know a handful of you out there just like, I'm not comfortable talking with people about God. It's not me. That's not what I'm comfortable with. But how are some of these people going to find God if you don't tell them? And you'll be amazed what God can do when you start doing something for Him. Not to say it's a give and exchange of favors, but I've been blessed. God has done amazing things in my life this past 7 months. Since I came on this computer and I started telling everyone of His love. I've seen great things. I've been a part of great things. I've had great things happen in my life. I saw the signs God put before me, and I've been doing my best to follow them. And for me, it means talking to people, to sharing His story, sharing His love. What if the signs are pointing you in the same way too? Homework for this week. I want you to find someone you're comfortable with, maybe someone you're not. And I want you to test the waters and see if they're willing to talk about their faith with you, and if they'll let you talk about yours. And have that conversation. Just say, hey, God's been doing some amazing things, and I want to talk to you about it. See what they do. And if you're not comfortable with it, find a close friend. It doesn't have to be a stranger. It doesn't have to be someone you don't know. Talk with a friend about the things you've seen God doing. See how they respond. I'd be very curious to see what happens.